There is an article. It came out just at the end of October. There's one blog that I'm always reading, and the blog is by Vitalik Buterin. He's 27 years old, created Ethereum. He wrote this one, Crypto Cities. And if you've ever heard of Crypto Kitties, right? Crypto Kitties is one of the most traded and popular of all of the NFTs, right? So the way that Crypto Kitties works is you buy a crypto kitty, right? So you can actually own your own kitty. When you buy a kitty, the kitty then mates with other kitties to create new kitties, right? So you actually have infinity number of new kitties that actually get created, and then you can trade them, right? And you actually can buy them, you can sell them and so on, right? So that's Crypto Kitties. So he wrote this as a bit of a play on Crypto Kitties. And what he's talking about with Crypto Cities is not like virtual cities that don't exist in the real world. What he's talking about here is that the future of all our communities, they're going to be cities that actually are already breaking out of the government issued currencies to create their own currencies. So this links directly with cryptocurrencies, but it also links directly with the metaverse because it's about creating parallel universes with the metaverse. So let's just pause on those two ideas. Let's just take one example, which he actually gives in here, which is Miami and Miami coin. So there is a number of coins out there, including this one, city coins, where what they're doing is they're giving communities in a particular city a chance to fund the city. Miami was one of the first places where this happened. Let me just show you this video so you can kind of see just how powerful this is. This is with the mayor of Miami. And you can see this was just in October. This has all just happened.
Betting that Miami coin will set the city up for that lofty long-term goal. The cryptocurrency was born out of a project with a nonprofit called City Coins. According to its founders, anyone can download the software, hop on a computer to mint those new coins. The miner keeps 70% of the profits, and the rest goes straight to the city's wallet. And Shep, like other cryptocurrencies, Miami coin also trades on an exchange, so people can invest in it. This one hit an all-time high of just around 5 cents. It is the first and so far the only test case of this idea, but since August, the cryptocurrency has brought in just over $10 million for Miami. That's more than 3 times what officials say they forecasted. The city's mayor and a Bitcoin believer, Francis Suarez, says at the current pace, it could bring in as much as $60 million for Miami and eventually subsidize or even replace taxes. But he says Miami is still holding the coins in escrow for a couple months. He says they're doing more due diligence before Miami can start spending these coins.
We're going to hold them for a while to make sure that there are no issues related to the technology. And then we can work on a variety of different ideas that we have to make our city better, including educational ideas, including affordable housing, and including a lot of issues that we obviously, as cities across America, would love to have more resources to help solve.
City coins are the latest sign of growing competition to attract the fast-growing digital industry and digital asset industry. Suarez has billed Miami as the crypto capital of the country, but Austin, Texas, and Cheyenne, Wyoming are among those also competing to attract crypto companies. Sources tell me Austin and New York are on the shortlist for their own city coin.
And in fact, the city coins now are kind of like taking off in all different cities here. You can see that we're just at the very beginning of this, just getting started. People are voting for starting up on their own cities as well. And this is just one company doing this. This goes beyond just the likes of physical cities where the mayors already are in place. There is, for example, this here, a city DAO. And if you don't know what a DAO is, a DAO basically is, it's like a community, right? So the whole idea is that it's a decentralized autonomous organization where you actually have the ability to organize yourself without having to be a corporation. And in this case here, you've actually got a DAO for decentralized asset ownership where they say, let's actually create our own city from scratch. And then what they've done is they've actually gone out there and they have bought 40 acres of land in Wyoming where they're building a whole blockchain city. And what that means is every single piece of land will be linked to the blockchain. You don't need a lawyer to basically go into a house and then sell the house to somebody else, right? If that's your house, you can sell it to someone else. If you want to sell, instead of getting a mortgage from a bank, you just want to sell 20% of your house to other people and say, hey, I'll pay you guys a return on that. And then you can actually pay less than you're paying to the bank, and everyone can then actually share in the value of your house. And as it goes up in value, everyone benefits from it. Or if you actually want to sell, half your car, right? Or if you want to basically rent it out to someone, pretty much everything happens on the blockchain. And effectively, that's the whole concept of having a mirror city, which I'm going to get to in a moment, right? Like a digital twin. So this is working both ways. You're actually taking cities and actually making them move into the metaverse, or you're taking the metaverse and you're moving into real world, but it's the two of them linking together. And then our ability to then rethink things from scratch. For any of you who've been to any of my events in the past, we talked about this. We said, well, what would happen if all US dollars went to zero, if all pounds went to zero? How would we all feel if we all basically zeroed out and we could just start again? And most people are quite relieved by that idea because then we've got freedom, right? We could create things in whatever way we want. That is what's happening today. And it's happening at scale because the technology has finally caught up with the vision of this consciousness that we're actually living in right now as well. So these are happening right now. And as you can see, this was from November. This is happening right as we speak. So one of the things that we just had a conversation yesterday, I'm part of Peter Diamandis' group. He basically is the one who set up X Prize, Abundance 360. And yesterday we had a session where we were talking about our massive purpose for the future. And I was giving examples of the likes of what Tencent has done with the city of the future in Shenzhen, with they're actually building a whole city from scratch. Toyota is doing the same thing with something called Woven City, where they're actually bringing it all into being a smart city. And I made the point that, smart cities shouldn't just be about smart technology. It should be about smart humans. We should be getting smarter ourselves as well. And so basically I said that one of the big things we're aiming to do is to bring 100 smart cities around the world together into connecting the idea of a university with the idea of a metaversity. And we're starting with the one in Lancaster. So many of you know that we're acquiring a university in Lancaster, that we're actually turning it into a hub for space technology, where we can be bringing on board, the likes of Elon Musk and the likes of Richard Branson, by bringing together the chance for kids to be learning, the chance for startups to be actually getting funding, and even for people, leaders that want to be in that industry, to be able to actually start finding the smartest ways to do that. And we can actually run those degree programs and certification programs from that university. But then that university then taps into a metaversity around the world, where we can all be tapping in and actually experiencing it. So once we're actually having our summit, then we can all go join it. We've got the space camp, we can all go join it. We've got connections now with amazing people that are out there that are actually doing some of the autonomous car racing competitions, or the likes of the founder of Segway, who is now creating something called First Robotics, which is for kids to be actually learning about robots at all different ages. These are all the different elements that we're bringing together in one central smart city. By the way, Lancaster happens to be the first city to go carbon zero in America, and also the first that's going hydrogen in America as well. So it's already at the forefront. I met the city mayor there, met up with the entire team there, and they're so excited about what we're doing. They've invited me to be the keynote speaker at their business conference, which is coming up. All of this is happening in real time. You're seeing it here, and we are going to be so excited as we start launching these pieces into it. And I really hope that you become part of this journey as well. With that, I'm going to come back again to Jason, because we're talking about a different level now, which is recreating societies, not as a theory, but it's actually happening right now, where cities can take the lead on this, and where we choose to be has a lot to do with basically to what extent that's a city that, for example, Dubai is one place, Singapore is another place, where they're all embracing this in a particular way. If I just share this for 1 second, which is news that just came out, Seoul, right? Seoul to become the first city to enter the metaverse. They're actually bringing all of their government tools and facilities online. So you don't have to go queuing up to get your passport, or you don't have to go queuing up to basically pay your tax. It all just happens directly on the metaverse, where you have a digital twin of your citizenship online that you can wander around in, as you actually do in real life as well. And again, Seoul is going to be the first of all of the most progressive cities that are going to be doing this, where we're not so worried about what country we're in as much as what city we're a part of. So I'd love to come back for your comments on this, Jason, plus we'll take 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah, well, again, this is incredible. This is awesome. I feel blessed and lucky. I feel like I'm able to put the pieces together from the information I'm getting here. I'm like, oh my God, I can see where this opportunity is going. And I have to make a parallel, Roger. So when I mentioned 10 years ago, I was doing real estate, right? It was actually, as a Canadian, I was taking advantage of being able to see things as they were from an outsider as a Canadian. And I was looking at what was happening. It was the US real estate crisis, right? And what happened is I noticed prices were low, that people were moving into renting more than owning. And it was kind of like a perfect storm for real estate investment. And when I started doing it, I started buying and selling a ton of properties, renovating them, putting tenants in place, and I was doing good because I was investing, I was providing proper homes. And I was like, wow, I look back at that time and I wish I would have been even more aggressive. I could have bought more, could have done more impact. And I was like, well, guess what? There's probably going to be another wave in 10 years of opportunity. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, this is it. It's the real estate in the virtual world.
Yep, exactly right. Imagine being back in 1995, 1996, and realizing, a URL is a real estate. It's like you can buy over a URL and it'll be worth millions of dollars. And if someone had waited to 1999 and they're like, oh, it's too late already, right? Everyone's already doing it. You totally missed the point. No, it's just getting started. And what you're sharing is absolutely right. The ability, number one, to already be transacting real estate, from the property side, like knowing, for example, that every educator that's here is looking for a school, right? Or that every kind of like, group is looking for like a space in this land. That like, if someone already figured out they could go and buy Fashion Street in Decentraland, well, there'll be other people that want to go in and buy the equivalent of Wall Street, right? So who's going to go in and buy that and then bring on board all the financial institutions, for example, or the place where you can actually have all the property. And then when that eventually links to the real world, where you're then able to actually buy fractional ownership in any property anywhere, right, then you're already ahead of the game once you actually decide to do that.
You made the great example of jumping on the internet, the URLs, in the early or mid 90s, but obviously we saw something go crazy, human emotions, we got a little speculative, we got a little crazy, and you saw the .com bubble was the crisis of 2001. And so, but you can look back and see like, hey, even within that, that's where Amazon was born, right? That's when like a lot of companies that actually existed during that actually stood the test of time. So do you have any advice as we're going into this to make sure that we're not jumping on the ones, I think it was like pets.com was one of the big ones that crashed and people lost money. Are there certain things you would suggest on due diligence as we go into this opportunity so we don't find ourselves being with our shirt ripped off like a .com bubble?
Well, I think there's two elements to this, right? The first one is take a long-term view, because if anyone had bought into any of the cryptocurrencies before the crash of 2017, and I'm just going to hold for the long term anyway, there would be no issue. The fact that it went up like all the way to like 20,000 per Bitcoin, all the way then dropped down to like 5,000, and then goes back up to 55,000. Like if you're into the long term, then of course the tide is going to keep rising. So you're going to be fine, right? If you're going in because you wanted to buy one day and then sell the next day, well, that's a different story, right? But that's the first thing. Be in there for the long term. Also know that we've got the tools and the communities. Like for example, I'm part of Marcus's crypto club, which is part of our community, where he shows how you can make sure that whether the price is going up or down, there's always a way for you to be able to, support yourself. So the first one is definitely always be thinking long-term on these areas, and don't buy something that you wouldn't want to hold on to anyway. The second thing is the 10% rule. Like the 10% rule is that if you're not at least spending 10% of your time and money in the things that are new, you're not giving a chance for those things that could 10 times to take on everything you're doing. If you just put 10% of your money into something that then can 10 times, it's worth your entire portfolio. If you put 10% of your time into something that could actually earn you more than the rest of your time, and at 10 times, you're already earning more than what you're doing, right? But if you don't give yourself the opportunity to at least do that 10%, then you're really nowhere, right? So I would definitely say, look, if you work 5 hours, if you work 5 days a week, take half a day and put that aside. That's 10%, right? Like just put that 10% aside. If you're putting anything less than that, then you're really missing that opportunity, because it means you're just focusing at your old world. Unless your old world is exactly how you want to live, right? Then that, of course, you don't have to know about any of this stuff, right? You can sit on the beach in Bali and be totally happy as well, right? But just be aware that you're going to miss out on all the opportunity if you're just doing that, right? But if you're on a beach in Bali and you're putting 10% of your time into this whole new world, then it's a very good chance that this will end up enhancing and growing what you're doing in a way that then works for you. And when you get to a point where it's like, whoa, this is really, really working, then going from 10% to 20% is still just 10%. It's just another 10%, right? So just take it 10% at a time, but at least do 10%.